Hi, I'm Samar Shams. I'm an immigration and global mobility partner at Spencer West. I'm going to talk about the Scale Up Visa route today. The Scale Up Visa route was introduced earlier this month, August 2022, to help high growth companies sponsor people to work in the UK, non-UK nationals to work in the UK more easily. Now, the route has its advantages, and in many ways, it is easier to sponsor people under the route, but it also has its disadvantages. So let's have a look, first of all, at the eligibility criteria, okay? The eligibility criteria are fairly narrow for a company that wants to apply for this type of sponsor license. First of all, you have to have had 20% growth in the company over the 3-year period before submitting the application. And that growth can be in either headcount or in terms of turnover. Additionally, at the beginning of the 3-year period, you have to have had at least 10 employees. Okay, so the criteria is fairly narrow. Now, the big advantage of this type of sponsor license application is that documentation is not required strictly. Supporting documentation is not required to be submitted with the application. You're still going to need to provide various information, but the Home Office is going to look at PAYE records and at VAT returns shared by HMRC with the Home Office to determine whether a company meets the eligibility criteria when it applies. So that is an advantage. The main disadvantage for this type of sponsorship for the company is that after an initial period of 6 months, the worker, the scale-up visa worker, can switch to an unsponsored scale-up visa, which means that the worker would be free to move to another employer in the UK. They're no longer tied to being sponsored by the company that supported them in their initial application. So for a sponsor, this can be a big drawback because they will have spent significant resources on supporting the initial application of the scale-up worker. And so, so that's a disadvantage for the sponsor. Of course, it's an advantage for the worker. But consider, if you are considering trying to get a UK company to sponsor you as a scale-up visa holder, consider that you will have to make 4 visa applications within a 5-year period to reach eligibility for settlement if you are going to take advantage of switching to being unsponsored as quickly as possible. Let me explain. So first, you'll make the initial application as a scale-up worker, and you'll be granted 2 years permission. But after 6 months, you could switch to being unsponsored. So you make the initial application. Then after 6 months, you switch to being unsponsored, but you'd only get 3 years permission granted when you switch. So then you would have 3 years and 6 months residence in the UK. You need 5 years residence in the UK, and you need to fulfill other conditions to be eligible for settlement. So when you reach the 3-year, 6-month mark, you'll have to make an extension application. You'll be granted a further 3 years, and that will get you to the 5 years required for eligibility for settlement, and you can then apply for settlement. So that's 4 applications. So it's an interesting route, certainly useful in some situations, but there are advantages and disadvantages for both the sponsoring entity, the sponsoring company, and the worker to consider. I hope that was helpful. If you are a company interested in applying for a sponsor license, please get in touch. Or if you're a worker who has some questions, I might be able to help as well, though there's not much to do before you have a job offer from a company that has a scale-up license. In any case, my email address is samar, SAMAR.shams, SHAMS, at spencer-west.com. Thanks very much.